Welcome to the RFP Success Show with host Lisa Rehurek, the #1 sought-after authority on RFP success. Each week, we bring you information, strategies, or resources to help you win more business through RFPs and have a little fun doing it. Let's get this week's episode started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the RFP Success Show. I am your host, Lisa Rehurek, founder and CEO of the RFP Success Company. And today I'm going to talk to you about color team reviews. Color team reviews are something that is used mostly in the federal space, so for large defense contracts, things like that. And there's a reason that they are used, and most people that are doing kind of like smaller RFPs, smaller companies, medium-sized companies, don't necessarily implement color team reviews. I'm going to talk about why. But the reason that I wanted to talk about this is that there's a lot of value to understanding this process. And for those of you listening, I know most of the people that listen to this podcast are in the smaller to medium-sized businesses and do state, local, municipality, or corporate RFPs and aren't really in that federal space per se. If you're in the federal space, you probably already know all of this. But I want to share this with the rest of the listeners because while you're likely not going to have the ability to do these reviews the way that I'm going to talk about them, it's very important for you to understand how it's done when it's a really clear and concise process, because you can adapt or adopt little pieces of this to implement into your process to make things run more smoothly. So I want you to be aware, I'm not telling you this because I think that all of you should implement this type of a process. It's just not going to be feasible if you don't have a large team to do this with. But there's a lot of value in it. It's been around for a really long time. Frankly, at the RFP Success Company, we don't call it, white team, pink team, gold team reviews because I didn't come out of the federal space. But again, it's really cool information about how with these really huge, large federal contracts, how large proposal teams put a process around the reviews and put a process around how the RFP response flows through these different teams. And they separate it out so that they can ensure that all of the requirements are being met and that there is an appropriate story that's being told throughout the RFP or throughout the response. So I want you to think about this, again, not for those of you that are in smaller, medium-sized businesses going, oh my gosh, Lisa, well, we don't have a team that can do all of this the way that you're saying, but it is kind of, you should be thinking about it just from a process perspective of, are you following along these same lines of thought process? Because it really will help you be more succinct and more organized in how you respond. Okay, so really, what is the purpose? I kind of talked about it, but it's really a disciplined process, a very logical process to bring your response to completion. That plain and simple. And it really also helps you assign the right team members, the right fits along the way to make sure that the right people are doing what they're good at. What happens in small businesses in particular is that it's kind of a free-for-all and it's all hands on deck because you don't have a dedicated proposal team. I get that, but if you can have different people doing different pieces of this, it really helps them stay more clear and more objective, and it helps you create a much better proposal. And so this process will help you assign the right fit of team member along the way as well. So there are 6 different color review teams that most people adhere to. And we're going to walk through each one of them. I'll tell you high level: blue team, pink team, red team, green team, gold team, white team. So that's what the 6 teams are. And what this looks like is that the first team is the blue team. And the blue team is really there to provide the outline. They really set everything up in outline form and help put the template together so that the writers, or when you get to the pink team, they know what they're supposed to be doing. The blue team really ensures that the basic outline of the proposal is in line with the requirements of the RFP. Okay. And also in blue team is when assignments are made. So that's when the assignment piece, who's writing to each one of these sections. You should set up that outline or template or shell, whatever you want to call it, based on the requirements of the RFP early on. That's the blue team. This should be done very, very early. And then assign people to each section. Then once the blue team review is done, then it goes into pink team. And pink team is really the bulk of the writing. This is where the document really addresses all of the questions, and you put all the content in for every section of the proposal. Okay. And for those of you who are able to have kind of a subject matter expert and a writer separate, this is really when they are collaborating in pink team. So you've got the subject matter expert, and this is really great when you can do this. And again, I know some of you are probably laughing, going, yeah, right, Lisa, we don't have enough bandwidth to do this. But in a perfect world, what's really great is that your subject matter experts are feeding the information to the writers, and the writers are actually then writing the content. The reason that's important is because your technical experts are really good at the technical aspect of things, but they're not right. They might be really great technical writers, but the likelihood of them being writers, business development writers or marketing writers, which you need to have to write winning proposals, they're probably not going to be that person. Of course, there's always exceptions to that rule, but that's why it's really great if you can have a paired up team there, right? And here's also in the pink team is when you start really formulating the storyline. So of course you have to answer the questions, but you also want the story thread that is thread throughout the proposal. A lot of times I call it a theme, something that helps them. It's like you're taking them by the hand and walking them through the building of what you're going to be offering them. You're just guiding them through so that they can see it, not in these different compartments, but as a story. And that's the most compelling response that you can have, is when it reads a little bit more like a story. And now don't get crazy, I'm not talking about a novel. I'm talking about just there's a sequence to it, and there's a little bit of a story behind it, and it reads a little bit more for an emotional connection rather than just the whole technical side of things. So that's all happening in pink team review. All right, so now we've talked about number 1, blue team review, outline and template. Number 2, pink team review, and that's all the writing. Now notice I said there's 6 reviews. There's team reviews, color reviews, and we're only on number 2, and we've already gotten through all the writing. And this is important to note because most businesses that we work with, and I did this back in the day as well, is that a bulk of the time is spent writing. And it's still a really hard thing for us to get our clients to shift on, is that's not really where the bulk of the time should be spent. I know most companies are like 80% of the time, the response time that you have is given to the writers, but there's so much more work to be done, and that's why this is important to understand these 6 different review teams. All right. So now we've gone through pink team review. Now we're in red team review. So number 3 is red team review. And the red team document really should almost be complete, anywhere between like 80 and 90% complete. And what's going on here is that there's like compliance and clarity that is happening. Is it reading like an evaluator can really understand what it's going to be like to work with you? Are you showcasing your best value and that you are the ones that understand the solution better than anybody else? Okay. So the red team review is looking at it from a little bit of a higher level. They're not down in the weeds of the writing. They're looking at it more from the reviewer's perspective so that they can kind of be a little bit more objective. So that's number 3, the red team review. Number 4 is green team. And green, cash, green money. You can think about it that way. The green team review is really all about the pricing information. Is the pricing information provided and displayed in the format that is required by the RFP. Very important, okay? Also, making sure that that pricing reflects the technical solution and any value adds that you're including. There's a lot more to pricing than just price. You've got to make sure that it really is connected to the technical solution and to the story that you're telling. So that's number 4 is green. So we've done blue, pink, red, and green. Now we're on number 5, the gold team review. And the gold team review is done, it shouldn't be in as if you were submitting this RFP. And these are more high-level executives that are generally looking at this. This is your executive sponsor, your, for you small businesses, your owner, your business development director, or whoever kind of the high-level person is that has not been involved in the weeds with the writing and all of that. They should be involved in the strategy of it up front, and they should be kept apprised of how it's going all along. This is really your executive sponsor, and it's really great if you can have 2 to 3 people. Again, I know you guys are laughing at that. This is actually something that we do as well at the RFP Success Company. Obviously, we do it all, but it's one of my favorite things to do, the Gold Team Review, because this is where you can really come in and look at it very objectively and say, okay, are you convincing me that you are the ones that we need for this solution? And making sure that that thread that I talked about is being woven throughout, that there's a story, that there is an understanding of what it's going to be like to work with you and how you are really going to solve this challenge, problem, need, want, whatever it is that you're responding to. So that's the Gold Team Review. Again, senior executives, somebody that's in authority somewhere along the line, and really looking at it from those win themes, the differentiators, making sure that it's all true. They're not looking at the requirements of the RFP. They're looking at it more from, is this representing our company the best that it can represent it? Okay. So that's number 5. And then number 6 is the White Team Review. And this is one that for sure, so many people don't do this step. I don't care if you're doing the color team reviews or if you are not, or if you're just ignoring everything I say. You've got to pay attention to the White Team Review, because what the White Team Review is this is really a review page by page of the visual document. And this is especially important when you're still printing. There's a lot of government proposals that still have to be printed. Please don't trust that just because you sent it to your printer or your production crew or whatever, that it's going to pop out and be perfect. There are so many printer things that go wrong. So I don't care if there's 10 copies that you've got to have. You want to go through each one of them page by page. You can go through quickly, but you're eyeballing to make sure that all the pages are there, that nothing got cut off, that, sometimes 2 pages slip in and you get printing half on one and half on another, or it's amazing the wonky things that can happen. And I know for all of you listening, you have had those problems before. So don't take it for granted that White Team Review is really important. You're really going to make sure that it is looking the way it should look when your reviewers are looking at it. So Gold Team Review, again, is kind of high level. They're looking at it, the final version from the content. The White Team Review is looking at the visual, making sure the page numbers are right, making sure the pages are all there, making sure nothing went wrong in the printing. So there you have it. There are the 6 different color team reviews. And again, if you don't have a large team to be able to split this all up this way, which most of you probably won't have, how are you making sure that this is getting done in a way that is not putting too much burden on 1 or 2 particular team members, and that allows you an opportunity to take a step back and see objectively when you get to Gold Team Review and when you get to White Team Review, that it's not the people that have been in the weeds because they can't see it anymore. Certainly not for Gold Team Review. They might be the right people to do White Team Review, but Gold Team Review has to be an objective review. So I hope that you implement some of this. Again, you don't have to do it so systematic in this way, but it really will help you start thinking about that. All right. Just a recap: blue team, pink team, red team, green team, gold team, white team. 6 reviews. All right, everybody, thanks for listening today. Again, you have been listening to the RFP Success Show, and we look forward to having you back here again next week.
You have been listening to the RFP Success Show with RFP expert Lisa Rehurek, author of the RFP Success book. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, make sure you click the subscribe button so you don't miss a show. And thanks for spending time with us today.